In the tech landscape, at least when you look back historically, there are few companies that have the same reputation for looking at design and aesthetics and appeal as just as important as the features that those devices have. And those are Sony and Apple. So when the two launch new smartphones, you know they're going to be a little different to what a lot of the others are doing. But crucially, they have quite different approaches to things like camera, displays and software. So exactly how does the latest flagship Xperia 1.4 compare to the iPhone 13 Pro Max? I'm Cam Bunton, and in this video I'll explain all and hopefully help you decide which you should buy. If you do like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any more. As I mentioned, both Sony and Apple do design a little differently to a lot of other manufacturers, and differently to each other. But what sets them apart is that often you'll see they both create a new look and then stick with it for a few years while updating the internal specifications with each new generation. For Sony, these past few generations of smartphone have all been these long, narrow devices that house a 21:9 display. What that means is that of the two devices, the narrower Sony is much easier to hold in one hand. It's a full 7mm narrower than the iPhone. It's also considerably lighter at 185 grams versus the iPhone's 240. Of the two then, it's the more nimble and the easiest to slip into a pocket, and the easiest to ignore when it's in there. Part of the iPhone's heft, however, is the materials. Its metal edges are built from stainless steel, which is stronger than aluminium in the Sony phone. It just feels that much more solid and strong. Still, both phones have IP68 rating against water and dust, but Sony's even gone to the trouble of getting it an IP65 rating as well. That means it's certified against spray as well as submersion. Now, while both clearly have a focus on elegance and a premium look, Sony has made practicality a key point in design as well. That means you get a 3.5mm port for headphones, and you also get a micro SD card slot for storage expansion. And this is built into a SIM tray, which, by the way, you can remove without any need for a pin or a tool. Now, one key differentiator that actually makes a difference to actually using the phone is the fingerprint sensor on the side. While it is reliable and quick and certainly useful if you're wearing a mask or your face is covered, it is very prone to phantom touches. I'd often accidentally trigger it and lock myself out of my phone for 30 seconds or be forced to use my PIN number. Face ID on the iPhone is just that much more convenient. You can just pick up the phone and it securely authenticates you without you needing to do anything else. It's still, to my mind, the quickest and easiest way to authenticate payments and unlock the phone. Now, looking at displays and media, and both phones get a lot of things right here. They both have very good displays as starting points. Size-wise, the iPhone's doesn't just measure bigger diagonally at 6.7 inches, versus the Sony's 6.5, but due to its wider aspect ratio it covers a lot more surface area as well. But at 4K resolution, the Sony can be more pixel dense than the iPhone's 1284 by 2778. But it's safe to say that extra potential doesn't make as much difference as you think every day, since most content isn't available to take advantage of every single pixel. Both do feature 120Hz maximum refresh rates and are bright enough and color rich enough to make the most of any of your favorite shows. To my eyes, watching similar shows on Netflix, which has Dolby Vision that iPhone supports, I've noticed that the iPhone is generally brighter, so darker scenes in shows like Stranger Things are much easier to see on the iPhone. However, there's an appealing approach to colours and calibration on the Sony. I like the deepness of the shadows and the wide breadth of colours in creator mode that automatically comes on whenever I launch a video app. When you don't need the extra brightness from the iPhone, that's a very nice panel to look at. Plus, if you happen to have any 21:9 ratio cinematic films, they take full advantage of the Sony's display. Both are well equipped from an audio perspective too, with their own versions of spatial audio. You can get 360 sound with the right headphones, earphones and music services. Plus, Sony has the benefit of LDAC, wireless audio, so you can get high-res audio with compatible wireless headphones. Now, moving on to performance and battery, and when it comes to everyday performance and speed, there's not a lot to separate the iPhone and the Xperia, primarily because they both have flagship top-of-the-line processors. That means you get that fast, fluid feeling from both phones, and there's no trouble in loading the most demanding apps. Now, part of that speed and responsiveness comes from the 120Hz refresh rates on the displays, which ensure that animations are virtually instant. We have found that when it comes to gaming, both have the tendency to get warm after a little while, both on the left side, but the iPhone's slightly higher up. And if you push the camera too hard on the Sony, trying to shoot 4K at 120 frames per second for too long, it will overheat. The biggest difference in performance is actually in the battery life. Where iPhone's 13 Pro Max is pretty comfortable as a 2-day device for me on a full charge, the Sony isn't. It's not far off, but generally I found myself needing to charge it every night to be sure that I'd get through the next day. That's despite it having the larger 5000 mAh battery. The plus side of this is that both are more than capable of getting you through a full workday. Even the busiest people should handle it just fine. Now, where the two lack a little compared to other manufacturers is charging speeds. You'll get 30 watts on Sony and 27 watts on iPhone, which means about 50% refilled in half an hour. It's not slow, but other phones are much faster. Both feature wireless charging support too, with iPhone having the super convenient MagSafe solution which snaps the charger and accessories to the back of the phone. But here's something of a kicker: neither phone comes with a charger in the box. So if you do want one and want to make the most of their utmost potential, you do need to buy one separately, and that's extra cost. On to the all-important cameras, and both feature similar setups in that they have a main ultra-wide and a telephoto zoom lens. But Sony's zoom is very different, in that it features an actual moving zoom part, so you can optically zoom between 3.6 times and 5.2 without losing any detail. It's safe to say Sony doesn't really do the camera experience like everyone else either. Its camera apps are geared to the pro user or enthusiast who wants similar manual controls to that of the alpha camera lineup. So while there are differences in the quality of the images and video, it's the actual experience of using the camera that makes the most difference day to day. Apple, of course, has always gone for that easy point and shoot approach. It wants you to pick up your camera, snap a shot, and know that you're going to get a good result. And for the most part, you do. And while Sony does have lots of manual controls, it also has a very good basic mode as well. It'll automatically focus and does so quickly, plus if you tap on the screen you get it to track an object in real time as it moves, or as you move around it. And it'll automatically focus and pick up on any eyes or faces in the shot. It's very good, although struggles if the movement is a little too fast. They are both different when it comes to color and light processing. Sony's results straight out of the camera seem more real. Because colors aren't oversaturated and contrast and highlights are not too boosted, it retains a lot of that look that makes it seem more natural, like you're actually looking at a realistic image of what you see with your eyes. iPhone, by comparison, is more contrast heavy and colors are boosted. And so you can see that some of the finer details and textures aren't quite as clear on the iPhone. To my eyes, I much prefer the results from the Sony than the iPhone, but there are benefits to Apple's do-everything-for-you approach, particularly when it comes to night mode photography and portrait shots. Sony's edge detection in portrait mode leaves room for improvement, and there's no such thing as a dedicated night mode in the Sony phone, although when it's dark it will automatically switch to a night mode optimizer, which is similar, but not quite as good. So it will do a relatively good job of stabilizing handheld footage at nighttime, and you will get a passable shot, but it won't be anywhere near as bright, sharp and vibrant as the iPhones. So to get a really good shot at nighttime, you're going to need a tripod, and you'll need to manually capture a long exposure. With iPhone, you can just point and shoot, and as long as your hands don't move too much, you get a sharp, clear picture, completely handheld in about 2 seconds. So in the end, there are very clear appeals to both phones. Sony's is the more expensive of the two, but for that you get, I think, better quality camera results from the Sony. Plus, with storage expansion and a narrower design, you get a very practical device. In iPhone's favour is the effortlessness at which it does everything. Plus, it has a bigger, brighter screen, better battery life, and a more durable and solid build. Plus, it's cheaper, surprisingly. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on Twitter. Let me know what you think of these two phones. Which one have you gone for, or which are you thinking about getting? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you did like this video and found it useful, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any more. I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.